All right, week 2, Activate Math. Let's get started. Okay, so number 1 talks about basic probability. In this deck of cards, you have 10 red. Oops. You have 10 red, 10 blue, and 10 yellow cards. Okay, so let's go ahead and make a note. 10, 10, and 10. Our total is 30. We have 30 cards total in the deck, or in this children's game. The players take turns, each drawing a card at random from the deck and placing the card on the table. When it is the 4th player's turn, there are 3 yellow cards on the table. So there's 4 players. 3 of them have already chosen a yellow. What is the probability that the 4th player will draw a yellow card? So keep in mind, basic probability is always whatever they're asking for, whatever they want, whatever the question wants, over your total. So they're asking for the probability of a yellow card, but you have to remember that 3 yellow cards have already been chosen out of the deck. So let's think about our total. If there were 30 cards and 3 have came out, that means we only have 27 cards left. And if we had 10 yellow cards and 3 of those have already came out, we only have 7 yellow cards left. And if you look over here, that's your answer. Okay, so you just had to remember to think about the 3 cards being taken out already. So if you missed it, that's probably how you missed it. To win the student council election, a candidate must receive over 50% of the vote. Okay, so notice it doesn't say equal to or more than. It says over 50%, so more than 50%. There were 750 votes cast. Which of the following is true about X, which is the minimum number of votes? So if we want to know what 50% of 750 is, 50% is a nice percentage because you can just divide by 2 or do half, but just so that we remember, anytime you want to do a percentage of a number, you got to change it to a decimal by moving this 2 places. So that's 0.5. Of means multiply. So anytime you want to find the percent of something, you just multiply it by the decimal for that percent. So 0.5 times 750, if I remember right, is 375. Okay, so over here, X is the minimum amount of votes they need. So if 375 is 50%, remember we said that they are going to need more than 50%. So the minimum amount of votes cast, which is X, needs to be more than or greater than 375. Number 3, 5 points are shown on here. If you look at the picture, there's 2 lines. They're intersecting at point O. Which of the following rays does not contain point O? So it has to be a ray, and it cannot have point O on it. So for a ray, the first letter is your starting point. The second letter is your direction. So this one means that we are going to start at A and go through B. So start at A, go through B, and it keeps going forever. So you see that if I go through B, it's going to continue forever this way, and O is on that line. Okay, BD starts at B and goes through D. O is on that line. CD starts at C and goes towards D. So look how O is back here behind it. If it starts on C and goes through D. So O would not be on that one. I'm going to go and do the other 2 just for fun because I love math. The other one starts at E and goes through F, which hits O. The other one is EG, which is technically the same thing. Starts at E and goes through G. All right, number 4, we have the roof of a new storage shed. The lengths are given in meters, and the vertical support, BD, has been left off. Which of the following expressions gives the length in meters of segment BD? So I'm going to put an X here because for some reason we tend to be able to find things better when there's an X or a variable. So do you notice how the triangles are the same on both sides? That means you don't really need both of them. So what I'm going to do for a second is cover up the other side. Okay, if they're the same on both sides, we can just use this one. And notice you have a right triangle. And if you have not had trigonometry yet, which is going to be in Math 2 and then Math 3 and pre-calculus, if you're a Math 1 student, you might not know this yet, but that's okay. Good try. So from 25, when you always start from your angle, you want to label your opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. Your opposite is the leg that's across the triangle. It's not touching the angle, so this is your opposite. The adjacent side is the leg that's attached to the angle, and then the hypotenuse is just your hypotenuse of your right triangle. It's the one across in the right angle. So this one has your opposite and your hypotenuse. If you remember back to doing your trigonometry, your teacher probably mentioned SOHCAHTOA. And there's all kinds of ways of remembering this, but SOHCAHTOA stands for sine of an angle is your opposite over your hypotenuse. cosine of an angle is your adjacent over your hypotenuse, and tangent of an angle is your opposite over adjacent. So this is a good way to remember your sine, cosine, and tangent. Also, don't forget to change your calculator to degree before you do the problem. This one you don't have to actually do it, but if you do have to solve it, make sure your calculator mode is in degree. So we have O and H. Over here, if you look, you have to pick out the one that only has O and H. And if you look, that's sine. Okay, so we're going to mark out anything that doesn't have sine, and we're down to 2 options. So from here, we have to set up our equation. That will be sine of the angle, and this is how you set up all equations, not just this one, is equal to your opposite over the hypotenuse. So that would be x over 12. And now, if you notice, they don't actually have the equation set up. They have what you would type in your calculator to solve it. So when you look at this, think about getting x by itself. If I want to get x by itself, it's being divided by 12. I would do the opposite and multiply it by 12. And what I do to one side, I have to do the other. So x would be equal to 12 multiplied by sine 25, which is A. Okay, 5. The graph of y equals x squared is shown on the coordinate plane. Which of the following equations of the graph of the parabola shifted 3 units to the right and 2 units down? Okay, best thing about these problems, you just put the equations in your calculator and you literally look to see which one went 3 to the right and which one went 2 down. So you should not miss this question if you actually take the time to do it. This is x squared. You always want to look at the vertex to see how it moved. So if your vertex is right here on 0, 0, it should be very easy to tell when you put these in your y equals in your calculator which one moved you 3 units to the right and 2 units down. That parabola would look something like this. Okay, the vertex, you'll be able to tell that the vertex went 3 over and 2 down. Okay, so it's actually going to end up being K. If you put all of those in and check and see where they move, this one is actually going to move left 3 and up 2. That one will go left 3, down 2. This one will go right 2, up 3. And this one will go right 3, up 2. This one will go right 3, down 2. You should have heard some of your math teachers at some point tell you that on the inside, the signs are opposite of the direction. It's the opposite. So if it's a +3, it's actually a negative direction. On the outside, it actually does whatever the sign says. So the inside is also what's taking you left and right with your X, and the outside is the part that's moving you up and down with your Y. There's a lot of different ways to talk about it, but the easiest is not to have to memorize, is to put these equations in, see which one actually moved over here, and K is the one that would look like this in your calculator, that moved right 3, down 2. All right, hope you enjoyed week 2. I'll see you on week 3.